Hello again. I am back here to talk about the Bret Hart versus Steve Austin matches in this video. I know I originally said my next video would be an All Japan review, but the show was only just now starting to get uploaded. The delay is for reasons that I don't understand. I mean, it aired in Japan over a week ago, and usually the source for ProRes that we have now will have the shows up within a day of them airing on TV. But we still just have, at this point, the top three title matches from the show. I don't get the delay, but I do see that it will be available soon, so I will do the review then. I decided to move on to this in the meantime. Just to refresh, this is me not only judging these matches because they're famous matches, but because I want to judge Bret Hart as a wrestler. Last video was Owen. This one is against Steve Austin, famous examples of his work. So we will see how he did against Stone Cold, starting with Survivor Series 96. I haven't seen a lot of online reviews of this match. I watched it in case it had any important bearings on the Wrestlemania match, and plus it's also an important match on a big pay-per-view, so that's good for judging Bret Hart. And plus the few reviews that I have seen of this match are very positive about it, and honestly, I'm not really understanding why. I thought this was dull, I thought it was bland, it was loaded with downtime. The good moments are there, don't get me wrong, but they're just spread out so much that it's really hard to say that I thought this was even good. I was bored through a lot of this, to be completely honest. I mean, for starters, I think I can point to one interesting thing that happened in the first 10 minutes. And that was Austin's move that looked like it was going to be a spine buster. Then he dropped Bret neck first onto the ring ropes. Yeah, that's a good transition. That had me interested for a matter of seconds. But Austin, in control, had a tendency to take too long between moves. So it's harder to build up any excitement. It was stiff, but it wasn't that stiff to where you could just stop and let things sink in. I've talked about that in the past. The match was best though when they were being stiff with each other. That's undeniable. I mean, and Austin was the leader in most of that. Punch exchanges all look violent. Austin throwing Bret into the turnbuckles or the ring post or anything like that. Very vicious, very enjoyable. The one thing I can fault Austin on in that regard is the stuff that he did around the table, which was surprisingly tame, I thought, compared to everything else that was going on in the match. But, you know, Austin was solid overall. Other than those things, the only other thing I can point out that was a flaw in his performance is the one stunner that he did, which was not very well placed and did not have a lot of excitement to it. So that's that. My impression of Bret here, not very good. I mean, I think I can list off on one hand the interesting things that he did in this match. Charging Austin into the barrier was cool. I mean, he kept his body weight on Austin even after the collision, which is good positioning, so that was fun. He copied the Austin spot that I mentioned earlier, which is fine. You know, that was a fun little revenge spot, so I definitely liked that. No surprise that the only near fall in the match that had even the tiniest bit of excitement came as a result of that spot after Bret's piledriver, so that was fine. Other things that Bret did well, the fight for the sharpshooter was fun, and his sneak pin attempts did well to make the finish work and make it entertaining. So those are the good points about the match, but they're very spread out for the most part, and that's all I really have to say. I can maybe say this match is barely good. I give it maybe 3 stars. I don't know, I just thought it was very forgettable. Wouldn't be remembered in any year, you know, much less 1996, which has, you know, one of the best tag matches of all time on there, the best year for Michinoku Pro, Hashimoto versus Takada. What did WWE have? They had that Shawn Michaels versus Mankind match. It still needs watching. That could be a contender. But the point is, I don't like their first match. So in my head, expectations have been lowered for the next one, you know, the famous Wrestlemania match. And what that means is, it has the ability to shock me with how good it is and maybe get a very enthusiastic rating as a result. Did it do that? Well, it didn't shock me. You know, it didn't shock me, but the difference between these two matches is huge in my opinion. I mean, this one, it gets 5 stars because of Austin's character development. I'm fairly convinced of that. So this is another case of praising the angle surrounding the match as the basis of the match rating. Not what I do, not what I think anybody else should be doing, but that's what gets done. You know, whatever. And the biggest reason I don't give this 5 stars is Austin's failure to put over a credible submission. You know, whether it was the Cobra Clutch that he established in the last match that Bret had managed to slip away from, just about managed to slip away from, or the sharpshooter that Austin teased in this match that he was going to steal but never actually did it. You know, the tease was beautiful. I mean, I was afraid they were going to throw it away too early. You know, the finisher steal, I was afraid they were going to throw it away too early. They didn't do that. They teased it perfectly. You know, it would have been a huge reaction if Austin had locked it in successfully later on. Disappointing that didn't happen. You know, the opportunity was there, because between that sharpshooter tease and the finish, the match meanders a little bit. I mean, it's not bad. There's some good moments, but a successful Austin sharpshooter would have been better than what we got. I'll say that. Or, like I said, the Cobra Clutch. So, since Austin wasn't going for that submission, no matter how well he can brawl, you never really believe Bret could lose. That's the problem. That's the problem with this match. Biggest problem with this match. But otherwise, you know, the brawling is great, really great. Bret spends the right amount of time working over Austin's leg, and that leg work helps the finish. There's no long segments of control because they do a lot of, you know, cool transitions. And Austin bleeding is important to more than just the finish. Bret doesn't offer anything more than his standard stuff when he's on offense. You take note of that. I mean, so the reason it's good and the reason it's special is because Austin's bleeding. It gives better focus, it makes the whole thing look more violent, but it is still Bret's standard stuff. So they really needed the blood in this match. I would point that out. And, you know, of course, I love the finish for the same reason that everyone else loves it, so I don't need to talk about that. It's 4.5 stars. It's overrated as a match because it was the birth of the biggest babyface of all time, arguably. But still, you know, my guess would be top 15 or top 20 WWE matches of all time, which is a definite compliment to it. So that was that. Not very long. Just a quick run through of those 2 matches. What's coming next? I could do more Bret Hart. I mean, but based on the 4 Bret matches that I've now watched versus the three Flair matches that I've now watched. Based on those, I'm going to go ahead and say that Flair is better than Bret. You know, Flair can do some weird shit that doesn't make sense in his matches, but he's often more exciting than Bret when he's doing good stuff. Bret often makes more sense, but he's often dull at the same time. So that's my little conclusion there based on just those handful of matches. It's obviously just based on a handful, but there you go. Other things, I mentioned cage matches in the last video. You can view my progress in watching cage matches in a topic on the forum on ProWrest.tv. The end result of that might be top 10 cage matches better than Bret and Owen. I could do that. With a bit more time, I could definitely do that. But I would say what's most likely to come next after these Bret Hart Austin matches, I see myself seeking out Austin's best stuff, actually. And my guess would be that would bring me to 2001, where it looks like he has a strong case for being the best worker in the world at that time. So the next one of these might be a bunch of Steve Austin 2001 matches. I will obviously be doing the All Japan review before that. So there you go. But also, you know, if any of you guys want me to talk about something that you have a strong opinion about, that it might provoke a serious discussion, then let me know of that too, because I'm talking about all these WWE matches that everyone has seen, but despite that, good, interesting disagreements are still a little few and far between for my liking. But hopefully that'll change soon. Hopefully it'll happen soon. So that's it for me. I will talk to you all later.